We're here in this situation together, and the sooner that we can get to the space of understanding that the best solutions are arrived at collaboratively by acknowledging the self in other and inviting the other to see who we really are, to be totally open and present to that other person, to understand the strength that comes from vulnerability, the strength that comes from being absolutely, totally open and clear and honest with the other side. That's where real solutions come. That's where you end up with that 1 + 1 = 11 as opposed to 1 + 1 = 2. And I believe that people like Stephen Kiva, that these pioneers, Stephen's not a practicing attorney, but what he's done for the legal profession is profoundly changing. He's the epitome of what I would call a social catalyst. And I think those of us who have been influenced by his work have a responsibility to carry on that work and to share that work with others, so that we can together shift the way law is being practiced on this planet. I really think it's time for that change. I think we're on the cusp of something huge. And I believe that in order for that change to manifest itself, we need to take off the cloak of reticence and be willing to be seen for who we are, and to not be ashamed of practicing law in a different fashion. When my daughter died, I had to deal with a huge amount of guilt from having been the time that she was sick, I was involved in some very contentious litigation. I had a self-concept that who I was a lawyer. That's all I was. That my whole sense of identity was in the competence of the way I delivered legal services. And the gift that came from having experienced the death of a child was the gift of reconnecting to the part of me that is my essence, my heart. Lawyers are trained to be left-brain thinkers. We become these logical machines. And that, in choosing to live that way, we live our lives totally out of balance. In choosing to embrace our emotional beings, in choosing to allow our hearts to speak for who we are, we reestablish, in my opinion, balance in our lives. A number of years ago, I was at an ICF conference in San Jose, and there was a booth. There was people at the booth were passing out buttons, and the button said, "Feel deeply, live powerfully." And in order to be truly effective, we have to relearn how to feel. We have to learn over again, like small children, the importance of being heart-based as opposed to head-based. And to understand that our minds, our intellects, which are, for most lawyers, are amazingly honed machines, are best used as servants of our hearts, not the other way around. That our truly important decisions in life are made by the heart, not by the mind. And that if I'm going to be able to get my message out to the world, and my message is that it's possible, not only possible, but hugely probable that a lawyer is far more effective if a lawyer operates from the heart than from the brain. That a lawyer can be of an enormous service to society if a lawyer allows himself or herself to be vulnerable and open to others and to be who they really are in the presence of others. That the courage that comes from allowing myself to experience my emotion is a courage that delivers for me a power to effect change. That in order to truly be a catalyst in other people's lives, I have to be real. And part of my realness is the pain that I feel. I have to experience who I am. And the alternative is a numbness where creativity is stifled, where new ideas are stifled. And so I allow myself, I've chosen, after having denied for decades that I had an emotional life, I've chosen to fully experience and feel my emotions. I ended up doing 15 days of training with these people. The name of the training company is Lucid Living. They operate out of Marin County in north of San Francisco in California. And so I went to 15 days of training on how to refine my emotions and how to embrace my emotions and to learn to appreciate my emotions and to learn to love myself. Because part of the challenge I think most lawyers have is this self-loathing that comes from believing on a certain level that those lawyer jokes are true. But if you get to the space that you understand that they're only true if you choose for them to be, then the lawyer jokes no longer hurt. The lawyer jokes no longer have impact. But you can have compassion for the rest of the society that believes that the lawyer jokes have a kernel of truth, because the rest of society, they're fearful of lawyers, they're resentful of lawyers, and they don't understand lawyers. And lawyers are fearful themselves. They're fearful of their clients. They resent their clients. And they choose not to understand their clients because they've crippled themselves by believing that all that is useful in life is the intellect, is logic. And it's like hobbling around on one leg. When we can connect our heart and our minds and understand that our minds work in service of our hearts, we reestablish our true essence in life. And we then have the possibility to be catalysts for change, to make a huge difference in society. I mean, when you go back through history, Mahatma Gandhi was a lawyer. Abraham Lincoln was a lawyer. Thomas Jefferson was a lawyer. Throughout history, there have been lawyers who have made huge positive impact changes on society, who've been those catalysts for the evolution of humankind. And I believe that today lawyers have the potential to do that again, but most of us have lost our way. And I believe that the holistic lawyers movement is a movement that is one that is in the process of reconnecting us to the roots of the purpose for which lawyers were created, and that is conflict resolution. Peaceful conflict resolution. If you go back to the early litigation, it was a great alternative to trial by combat. Now we're ready for the next phase. We don't need to have this combative, antagonistic, litigation-based society. We can instead use ADR methods, mediation, negotiation, simply conversation as a way to resolve conflict. Conflict is an inevitable part of being human. How one resolves conflict is a choice. And I believe that it's our responsibility, those of us who have the training and the insight, to share with others that conflict can be resolved in an affirmative way. And the only way, from my perspective, to do that is by understanding, accepting, and embracing my emotions.